Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome to a new Bandit Specialty County Guide. This is our long-awaited Bandit Guide. We're kicking things off with the counties, because counties play a huge part for the Bandit factions who are not really designed to control and command commanderies in the game. So your main focus is to develop these counties where you can build additional underling buildings. Now today we're not really going to talk about the underling buildings or the economy aspect. I just want to provide a general rundown of all the different type of counties that's available for the bandits and show you guys how we can use these. And tomorrow we're going to jump into how to build with bandits for a good economy. And in that guide we'll talk about which commanderies we should take, how we should build those commanderies, and talk about the under buildings inside these specialty counties. So to kick things off, we're just reviewing the specialty counties that's available in the game. They are a lot of types, a little under 20 types. You have two different types of farmland, the grains in the north and the rice in the south, 15 and 9 of each one, 8 fishing ports, 13 livestock farms, 7 pine and 7 bamboo lumberyards, also divided from the north and the south, 8 trade ports, 9 toolmakers, 7 iron mine, 6 copper mine, 6 salt mine, 2 jade mine, 3 tea plantations, 3 silk and 3 spice, 4 horse pastures, 1 temple building, 2 armorsmith, 2 weaponsmith, and 1 animal tamer. So we'll be running through all of these to show you guys what the bandit version of these counties will look like. So to kick things off, we have the grain farmland, and every single type of bandit county will consist of 3 different upgradable levels. And I'm going to show you guys all 3. The garrison you get in these counties will be in the same ratio for all of them. Some of them I cut off because I don't have enough space on the screen. But in general, you get 1 full stack when you have level 1, and then 2 full stacks when you are level 2 and level 3. And the level 3 retinue garrisons are slightly better in quality compared to the second level. Now for the grain farmland, you get a thing called banditry income. This is a new income source that's exclusive for all the bandit factions, and you also have a thing called banditry food production. So these are special types of income and food production, and it will be boosted by either banditry multipliers or multipliers to income from all sources or food from all sources. Now additionally, the grain farmland will still produce you 3 food from farming. Now these categories matter because different types of reforms and different types of buildings only boost certain types of food. So you have food from fishing, food from farming, food that's general, which gets boosted by everything, and food that's banditry, which will only get boosted by banditry food multiplier that's available in different type of stances on your armies. And additional bonus for these grain farmland is that they will provide your commandery with 30 reserve capacity and 1 use of all pre-battle deployables for armies in this county. So just this county, not the entire commandery. You don't have to be fighting inside the grain farmland. You can be fighting anywhere on the map in the county, and you get 1 set of pre-battle deployables. And that's pretty much it with this building. Now the rice version that's down south will look very, very similar. The only difference is somehow the rice paddy buildings doesn't provide 3 general food from farming, right? You still have the 3 food from banditry and 125 income from banditry at the max level, but you no longer get that plus 3 food from farming. So it's a little bit weaker if you compare it directly to the grain farmlands, but rice paddy tend to have a better map setup for when you're defending it because you got those nice long corridors to defend. But in general, in terms of what you get out of them, you get slightly less food production from when you compare the rice to the grain. And here's a map of the distributions of the 15 grain farmland and the 9 rice paddies in the game. So moving on, the next county is very, very similar to the farmlands, and that's the fishing port. The game treats this pretty much in the same manner. You get plus 3 food from banditry, plus 3 food production from fishing, so a different type of bonus. 125 income from banditry, which is the same. 30 reserve capacity is the same, and plus 1 use of all pre-battle deployables for armies in this county. So very, very similar. You get the same retinue, you get the same bonuses, and it's just a little different map setup from when you're battling. You'd be getting the port setup with a very nice garrison with 3 sides with gates and towers. And here's a map of the 8 different fishing ports that's available on the map. Now moving on, you get another pretty much similar one in the Livestock Farms. All these food producing counties that's in the general game tend to look the same when you have the bandit version. Here you also get the +1 use of all pre-battle deployables, 3 food from banditry, 3 food from farming, 125 income from banditry, and 30 reserve multiplier. And there are 13 of these on the map, and they're all shown here. And then finally we move on to something slightly more interesting in the 2 different versions of lumberyards. So in the game, lumberyards in the north are pine lumberyards, at least that's how it is in the base game. And lumberyards in the south are bamboo lumberyards. And if we first take a look at these pine versions, you get the same +1 use of all pre-battle deployables. You get 3 food production here from banditry, which is very nice. 125 income from banditry income, 30 reserves. But most importantly, you get -9% upkeep cost for spear infantry, faction wide, and it's per pine lumberyard. So if you control all of them, and there are 7 of them on the map, you can reduce the upkeep cost for all your spear infantry by 63%, which is very powerful because you can have additional boost for reduction of upkeep from the Reform Bandit Network map. We'll talk about that in a separate guide when we talk about reforms in general, and then I'll tie that up into a guide where how do you get free spear infantry, how do you get free shot cavalry, how do you get free recruitment, because all those things are quite possible with the bandit factions. You might not have access to all the strongest units in the game, but everything comes much cheaper for you. So it's a very different playstyle, but it's a very powerful playstyle as well. Moving on to the bamboo version of this county, you get the same setup. The only difference is instead of spear infantry, you get -9% upkeep cost for range units. So that's going to be the same 63% once you get control of all 7 bamboo lumberyards. And that's also very, very powerful. And here's the distribution of the north and south 7 pine, 7 bamboo lumberyards on the map. So next up, we have the trade ports. These are slightly different from all the ones we talked about so far in 2 ways. First off, they provide a new bonus called research rate. All the new reforms for bandit factions are research per turn, so you don't get a free one every year. You have to spend your research rate to get them. So the higher research rate you have, the faster you get them. So having trade ports that can boost research rate is something very powerful. You'll still get the same pre-battle deployables. You also get +3 food production, which is something that we really never associated trade ports with. And you get 200 income from banditry. So previously we have seen mostly 125. So 200 and 125 are the only 2 different income tiers for specialty counties. Obviously the 200 ones can be much better just because it's a much higher value. Other than that, trade ports pretty standard, and there are 8 of them on the map, which means you could potentially boost your research rate by 120% just by controlling all these 8 counties. Moving on, we have the Toolmaker. Now, the Toolmaker is probably the best county to control for bandit factions, simply because bandit Toolmakers provides you 3 food somehow, provides you 125 income, which is the lower end, but it provides you 9% recruitment costs faction-wide. And there are 9 different Toolmakers on the map as shown here. So if you do the math, 9% discount, 9 Toolmakers. Once you control them all, 81% discount for recruiting all units in the game. And you can add on a little bit of recruitment discount from your reform, and you can have the instinct of the army providing you recruitment discount. So essentially, you will have free armies for recruiting. You can recruit whatever unit you want, and they'll be all free once you control these 9 Toolmakers. And next up, we have the Iron Mine. Now, the Iron Mine is also slightly different than the ones we have seen so far, because it's the first county we see that provides prestige, and you get 25 prestige here. Now, these are going to be very vital to your faction because settlements do not provide you any more prestige as a bandit faction. So you really need to focus on this type of county to gain prestige, but all counties could gain you prestige because all the underbuildings, the small building that's attached to each county that you could build, also can provide a lot of prestige. So you tend to snowball quite fast for ranks as bandits. So that's something you don't have to worry about. Additionally, iron mines are 200 banditry income buildings. So those are very, very nice. And they provide 9% upkeep cost discount for sword and shield infantry. So you're looking at your purple infantry for 9% discount. And since there are 7 iron mines on the map, that's another 63% upkeep discount for all sword and shield infantry. Now next up, we have the copper mine. Now typically we really love copper mine in the base game because they provide faction-wide corruption discounts. But here, unfortunately, they're much weaker for the bandits. They do provide 25 prestige, similar to an iron mine. They have 200 income from banditry, which is great. 50 reserve, which is so-so, depending on how you feel about reserves. And they provide 9% corruption discounts to adjacent commanderies. So you'll get it in the commandery that the copper mine is in, and all adjacent commandery to your commandery that the copper mine is in. It's better than nothing because corruption is definitely an issue as you expand, but it's definitely not as strong as faction-wide corruption reduction. For the bandit faction, you're going to have to heavily rely on your reform network, the bandit network, to get most of your faction-wide corruption. There's quite a bit on the reform tree, so you can definitely look there. Aside from that, we're just going to show you the 6 different copper mines on the map. Most of them in the cluster down south is going to be where you're going to focus most of your income. It fits Yanbaihu very, very well because these adjacent bonuses will stack on top of each other, making these counties in this area all corruption free pretty easily. There's a lot of other good things going on here, like a lot of harbor buildings, but we'll be talking about that in the guide tomorrow. Next up, we had the salt mine. This is one of my favorite ones after playing the bandit faction for a while, simply because you get 300 income from industry. So different types of base income like industry, peasantry, and commerce is pretty much all missing for bandit counties until you see the salt mine here, where you get 300 industry income from the salt mine. So this obviously helps with a lot of the industry income multipliers from all the buildings you can build in settlements. So this will be, basically extra income you can rely on. They also produce you 3 food and 125 banditry income. So all these things are pretty great. And there are 6 salt mines on the map. And once again, have to bring your attention to the lower cluster on the bottom right, where Yanbaihu starts out, and you get this pretty nice region with very good banditry income synergy. And next up, we have the Jade Mine. Now, the Jade Mine is 25 prestige, also 300 industry income, and 200 banditry income. So in terms of just like an isolated county, this county is probably the most rewarding for bandit factions, simply because you get 500 flat income just by controlling this county. The prestige does help as well. And even in the grand scheme of things, the 300 industry income is very much welcomed because you still have access to private workshop and the new forge building and the labor building that can help you boost whatever amount of industry income you might have in the county. And there are only 2 jade mines on the map, and they're in Chang'an and Nanyang. And next up, we have the tea plantation. Once again, another pretty good income county for the bandits. It will provide you 3 food, 125 banditry income, but 300 commerce income. So this, once again, it's a new source of income for bandit factions, and this commerce income is going to be very good because you do have access to the private workshop and the marketplace building in all your commanderies, so you can definitely boost that. But in isolation, you can see that this is 300 and 125, so it's not as good as the Jade Mine, and they're all in the south, as you can see here on the map. Finally, we have the silk and the spice traders. Now, these buildings are not like what their name suggests. You no longer get any silk income in these counties. You get 120 banditry income and 3 food production. So no more silk income for bandits unless you keep the Han version of the building you get and don't convert them over to the bandit version. The only bonus you see on these buildings is 30% extra trade influence, And for the spice, it's a little different because you get 15% research rate instead of the trade influence bonus, which I think is quite nice. And here's the distribution of these counties on the map. Lastly, we have horse pastures here. These give cavalry discounts, 9% upkeep for cavalry units, so very, very nice. They're pretty much on par with the Han version level 5, which now only gives 10% upkeep discount. You get 125 banditry income and 3 food, and these are all in the north, as many of you are familiar with. There's one unique temple building, and for the Bandit Faction, you can upgrade it 3 times, and it will give you 200 incomes flat plus 50 prestige. So just a heavy prestige building here, and this temple building is in Pengcheng. Next up, we have the Armorsmith, which will give you 25 prestige, will give you armor from time to time, 200 banditry income, and that's pretty much it. 50 reserves, a little bit high, but not that useful. Weaponsmith is the same exact stats, 25 prestige, 200 income, 50 reserve, and the chance to produce weapons for you. Animal Tamer is slightly different. You still get the chance to get mounts, you get 3 food, and only 125 banditry income and 30 reserve. And here's the distribution of these counties on the map. Now, lastly, I'm going to leave you guys with this spreadsheet here. This considers all the counties we just mentioned, how many there are in the game, how much banditry income they provide, how much banditry food they provide, how much other types of food they provide, any sort of income bonuses they might have, like the corruption reduction or any type of flat industry or commerce income, as well as trade influence that they might provide, and unit discounts such as upkeep or recruitment cost discount for different types of units, research rate, and finally prestige. So hope you guys enjoy this rundown. It's pretty straightforward, just introducing you guys to all types of bandit counties. In tomorrow's guide about how to build for bandit factions, we'll talk more about which type of counties we should be looking for. We'll talk about which commanderies are the best one to build and pretty much determine certain set ones and how you should build them, because you're kind of very limited on your options here for bandits. So hope you guys come back for that one, and see you guys then. Bye.